Hello, welcome to Selenium Master Session. Today we'll learn about Xpath. So let's go ahead with today's agenda. Today we'll be focusing on what is Xpath, what are the types of Xpath, and how to identify the X. By the end of this session, you all will master Xpath. So basically what is XPath, right? So XPath helps to locate element within the web page, navigating through the HTML structure. So what that means is, let's take an example of facebook.com here. So if I use XPath, XPath will locate through this HTML code and try to find the element that you are preferring, right? So let's go to the next slide here. So what are the types of XPath? XPath are two types. One is absolute XPath and another one is relative. So what exactly is absolute XPath, right? So as you can see here in the sample, let me go back. As you can see here in the sample, it is going from HTML, body, div1, div2. What that means is, let me go to the Facebook here. As you can see here, the HTML code starts from this HTML tag here, right? So basically what it is doing is, it is going from HTML and then again into the head, again into the body, and inside the body it is going to the first div, again into the second div, and it is finding the element. So that is what is absolute XPath. Whereas relative XPath generally means you'll be finding the locator directly at the node level, right? So here will be the sample. We'll dig into it more in detail, but as of now you can just find the difference that absolute is something that you are finding from the root, whereas relative you will be finding from the node, right? Over here you will see two difference, mainly the difference between this double forward slash and the single forward slash. So what double forward slash here in the relative XPath means is it can search the element anywhere. So within the web page here, if I put double slash, it will go to everywhere to look for that element. But if I go with a slash, it means that it is going from the root, meaning that it is coming from here, from the main base, right, from the main entry. Let's begin into the next slide. So what are the prerequisites before we go ahead and learn XPath? So before you learn XPath, you should have a basic understanding of HTML. So you don't have to go in that much detail, but you should understand about what is HTML element, what is the structure of it, and what is HTML attribute to get success on this XPath locator. So let's begin with HTML element here. So HTML element is nothing but element within a web page. It can be paragraph, it can be heading, it can be input box, anything, right? So HTML tag, how does the structure works is, there will be a tag name with angle brackets, and there will be a content, right, and then the closing tag name. For example, if you are writing a paragraph, you'll be having this opening, and instead of this tag name, it will be p tag. So let's say like we'll write a paragraph and the closing p tag, right? Similarly for the heading as well, h1 it will be here and the heading will be here. So let's go ahead and take the samples from here. So let me go ahead and inspect this heading here. As you can see here, there is opening tag, s2. Let's forget about this attribute, I'll comment later. There is a closing here, and this is something, the content, and again the same s2 is closed here. So this is how the element is written in HTML. So let's go ahead with the next HTML attributes. HTML attributes is, it's providing additional information to this element. So what it does is, it will be in the format of name and value, and it will give it will be always in this starting tag. So let's take it here as a sample for the same s2 tag. As you can see here, class equals at 8ESO, right? That is something attribute for this heading class. So let's go ahead and search this input box here. Oh my god, look here. In the input box you can find too many attributes. As you can see here, type is text, so it is saying that this input box has a type text. And as you can see here, class is input text something, name is this. So there are a lot of attributes right here. So attribute is type, class, name, id, and similarly for the value of this type attribute text, for this class attribute it's input text something here, and for this name attribute it's email. That's how it goes. Let's go to the next slide. So let's go with the basic XPath, right? What is the syntax of this basic XPath if you wanted to find? So, so the basic way to find is you just have to put double forward slash. You just have to give the tag name, whatever it is, like p tag or input tag, whatever it is, right? And square bracket open. You just have to mention the at the rate symbol here, and attribute equals value, right? Whatever the value of that attribute. That's all. So before I go ahead and do it manually, I'll just show you how we can do it automatically as well in the web page, right? In the Chrome browser, it gives you flexibility to do it automatically as well. So for that, let me go ahead and right click, inspect. So let's find the relative XPath for this email input box, right? So let me go ahead and inspect the code here. So what I will do is I will right click on the code. I'll go to copy. So as you can see here, right, copy full XPath will give you absolute XPath. And as I said earlier, we don't deal with absolute XPath. That is not required on your projects, right? That is not much important. And what is important is the relative. That will be most frequently used locator within the codes for the automation engineer. So what I did just now is I copied the relative XPath. So let me click Command F since I'm on Mac. So let me paste it here. And as you can see here, this is our relative XPath for this, right? This is done automatically. So this is the way you can do it automatically. But if you wanted to do it manually, you just have to follow the syntax. Let's do it. Let's go ahead by following the syntax here. So as it says, I have to put double slash and the tag name. So the tag name is input over here, as you can see. So I'll just put 2 forward slash and the tag name is input. So I have to go again to the code. So let me find the code here again here. So as you can see here, let's put this name equals email attribute, right? So let me go ahead and put square bracket, closing square bracket, and inside that I'll just put name attribute and its value as email. So let me go ahead and search for this. Oh, I just forget about the @ symbol over here. So as you can see here, I just followed the syntax and I was able to get this. So as you seen earlier, there was a symbol called asterisk right here. So what does that mean is basically asterisk will go ahead and find all the node. If you mention input, it will just look for the input tag. But if you don't mention any the tag name over here, it will just go ahead and search everywhere, every tag. So that's what it is, just a wildcard that is being used. So let me get back to the slide. So as you can see here, double slash means select the current node, right? Instead of going from the top, it will just select the current node that you're searching. Tag name, you can put the tag name, or instead you can put asterisk as well. It will search all the tag name. And square bracket, @ symbol, and attribute as well as the XPath using contents method, right? So before we dive into the practical thing, let's go ahead and understand the syntax. So as you can see here, the double forward slash is the same thing that we learned earlier. Asterisk, it will find all the node. Only the difference here is this contents method, right? As you can see here, we have to write contents and the parentheses over here, and then only we'll be writing the attribute as well as the value. So let's go ahead and implement this. So let's modify what we learned on the basic XPath. So as we know, the basic 2 forward slash will remain the same, and instead of input we can put asterisk, or we can leave input as well. It's the same thing. So let's go with asterisk. So it will be more generic and it will search all the nodes, all the tag name. And over here, right, this is where the change come. So instead of this, what we'll be using is we'll be using contents method over here. Like we'll be putting 2 parentheses, and inside the contents method we'll be using this 2 attributes as a part of parameter. So what does that mean is I'll just give @ name, comma, and the value will come as another parameter. in the method. So I'll just paste it here, and boom, right? You can see this input box is highlighted one of one. But you can ask me, what is the difference between the basic XPath and this contains method? It is doing the same thing, right? You might feel, since it is doing, we are using the same attribute value, only the difference is like you are putting in the parameter. No. So what advantage that we can get as part of this using contains method is, by the name itself, it suggests contents, right? It means that, let's say, like in projects, you might find email slash 5934, right? Which is like 5934. Every time the user comes and log in, it might change. So that is a dynamic attribute, right? In that case, you can't make it automated, since that number will change every time. But over here, what you can do is, you don't have to give the full detail. Earlier in the basic XPath, you have to give the full detail, right? As you can see here, even if you write EM, it is identifying that it is going everywhere in the tag name. It is trying to find @name attribute which has a value em, right, which contains em. More than that, it doesn't matter. As you can see here, this name contains email, so it consists of em, right? And that is the reason it is finding. So the benefit that we get from it is, in the value section, we don't have to add the whole details. You can just put the part of XPath using or and. So over here, this is similar to what we learned for basic XPath. So it is just adding a multiple attribute and combining them with or and. So before we go dive into syntax, we should understand what does and means and what does or means. So and means, if we have these two attributes, both should meet, then only this locator will work, right? So if one attribute satisfy and another one doesn't satisfy, then and won't work, right? Or it's like and will look for all the elements that satisfy both the thing. So similarly, or, what does or means? Like, as you know, either this or this, right? So or means either it satisfies this section or it satisfies this section. This locator will work. So it doesn't matter, like both should not satisfy, right? So let's go ahead and implement this here. So we'll use let me go ahead and remove this section here. So we are basically adding attribute and combining them with or and, right? So let me go ahead and find with let me go with the same text box here and give you an example with name equals email here, right? And so now let's go ahead and find two locator. Let's say, like you get in the project like multiple scenarios for this. Let's say if you wanted to highlight both of the thing, and if you wanted to find elements, right, instead of an element. Let's say you wanted to select this one together. Then how you do is, let's say you just use or here, and you just give this one. So let's go with again name attribute here. So attribute name equals. So as you can see here, it finds two things, right? The first thing it finds is, let me show you this code here. It finds the password on the web page here. The password is being highlighted, right? And the second thing it does is, the first one is the name, and the second one is password. So using this or command, what it does is it went through all the tag name. It searches for the name having email or name having pass. So it finds in the first section name with email, so it satisfies and it gets like selected, and similarly for the password, right? But let's see what happens if I do and, right? Well, as you can see here, if I write and, it will try to search name equals email as well as name equal password in the same tag name, like same element. That is the reason it didn't find, right? And it fails, and it is not finding any locator. But let's say if I do for the email text box here, let me go ahead and inspect the code. Let's say I do type equals text, right? Instead of this type and txt. Here you go, right? The reason it highlights this email or phone number input box is because it went through it and it tries to find name equal email. Yes, it found it over here in the name equals email, and it again went through and tried to search like type equal text. Since it's find type equals text, that is the reason it is finding and locating this element. If I make any changes here, it won't find. The reason for that is it doesn't find type 1 in this section. So that is the difference between an and or, and it is very helpful for finding a dynamic locator with multiple attributes. And learn Xpath using starts with function. So it is somewhat similar to the function that we tried earlier with contents method. So this is starts with method, right? As you can see here, the syntax, it says we'll just use two forward slashes, tag name, or instead we can use asterisk as well, the square bracket, and we just have to write starts with, and we have to open the method parenthesis, and inside the method, like inside this parenthesis, we just have to send two parameters. One is @attribute and another one is starting value. You don't have to write the full value, you can just write starting value. So let's go ahead and implement this. Let's go with the same thing that we're doing here. Let me erase this section here. So instead, what we're doing is we're writing starts with, right? So let me go ahead and write starts with and open the parenthesis for the method. And inside the method, we have to pass two parameters. One is @attribute and another one is value, right? Let me go ahead with this name email itself. So @name, first parameter, and the second parameter will be its value. So let me go ahead and, so as you can see here, right, starts with means that you can just write the few letters that starts with, and then it will go ahead and find automatically em, right? If you recall, starts with and contents with somewhat look similar, right? Last time also we did contents and it find the same thing. So let me go ahead and make it contents here. So you might be like confused, right? We did contents method and we just changed starts with. It will do the same thing, isn't it? But let me tell you the difference between them. So what does this contents method does is, let me write contents here. So for the contents, you don't have to write en, you can write ail as well. Let me show you here, ail. As you can see here, even though if I write ail, it is still finding it, right? If I just write ai, it's still going ahead and finding it, because what contents means is over here, whatever, like if this sequence made, then like it will just find it. As you can see here, I just write ai, it just went to this one name attribute, and then it just like literally started looking at everything, right? And it just find ai over here, so it just got it, this locator. So for the contents, you can write any letter that contains in the value, but with regards to starts with, you can't write ai. As you can see here, it's 0 of 0, right? You just have to write the value that it starts with. For example, you can write e, perfect, because it is finding, because this is starting with e, right? ai, it is finding it. So that's what is the difference between starts with and. Now let's go ahead and learn using text method. This is a very important, and I would like to emphasize that everybody should understand this. Let's go ahead with the syntax. So what we're doing is we're calling a text method here, and we're just mentioning that this should be the value, right? So let's go ahead and implement this here, and let me go ahead and modify the same thing here, right? So inside the square bracket, I'm calling text method. So I'm saying text method here and equals, and let me put the value. So basically, if I wanted to go and select any locator for the paragraph or any text, right? Let me go ahead and do this. Let me copy, paste it, boom, right? As you can see here, it is highlighting, it is finding the locator for this section. And similarly, let me go ahead and find it for forget password as well. Let me copy the text from there. Let me paste it here. Perfect. It is finding me the perfect locator one of one for this link itself. So it is very easy. Let me go ahead and do it for the create a page here and paste it here, right? So perfect. As you can see here, it is highlighting the create a page as well. If you wanted to go with not the link, just the text as well, it finds it. So let me go ahead and paste it here. Perfect. As you can see here, it finds one of one, right? There was a space over here and I didn't like select the space. That was the reason. So this is very easy to find any locator of the text within a web page. And this is very helpful locator that you'll be using in the project as well.